In Civ 6, there is an ongoing debate, a bigger one than even cereal before or after the milk. That is warriors versus slingers. Two units unlocked at the start of the game. I mean, you have a dude swinging a club and a dude throwing rocks. You don't need a Harvard degree to do that. But which unit is actually better to build? Building the wrong unit might not seem like that big of a deal, but it can make a huge difference depending on what you're actually trying to do. So we'll talk about both of them and then rank them on 5 different categories, being offense, defense, exploration, upgrade path, and notes to consider, giving them a score of 1 to 10. Comment down below if you like this video style and what other versus battles you want to see next. The warrior is a club-swinging menace who's about as dangerous as a drunk Irishman. Be very careful, but not the biggest threat in the world if you take the right precautions. With 20 combat strength, they get an extra 5 combat strength against anti-cav units like spearmen, which, I mean, it doesn't make too much sense. I'm not winning against a 10-foot long pole pike with a damn stick I found on the ground, but that's okay. The warrior costs 40 production or 160 gold. Early on, the production isn't that bad, but the gold cost is very expensive, as it would take about 32 turns at 5 gold per turn to actually get the gold cost to buy one warrior. The main role of the warrior is to be a frontline meat shield in the early game, using it to be the primary explorer and defender, as it is the strongest unit you can really build until you unlock swordsmen, allowing you to clear barbs and even steal settlers, as after you declare war to steal a settler, a warrior can soak up some hits from any nearby melee units and get out of there with the settler stolen. The warrior costs no gold to maintain and upgrades into a swordsman for about 20 iron and 110 gold. And yeah, let's get into the slinger. The slinger is a rock-throwing ranged unit with 1 range that costs no gold to maintain and 35 production to build. The slinger has 5 melee strength and 15 range strength, so it has a decent first strike with a ranged attack, but it will fold faster than Charmin Ultrasoft when someone farts in their general direction. The slinger gets -17, yes, -17, as in they lose more combat strength than they have total against boats and cities. This is pretty funny, as you do almost no damage to these structures with a slinger, so yeah, they're pretty garbage for against cities or boats. The slinger's main role is to get the archery Eureka, a very big tech that gives you the archer unit, which is probably the best unit in the entire game. They can also be used to explore, get tribal villages, clear out barbarians in the early game. While the warrior is a lot stronger than the slinger in a mano-a-mano naked wrestling match where you're just getting down and dirty, the slinger gets to attack first without a response, and if they are across a river on a hill, that can help them turn the tide in the right situation. The slinger upgrades into the archer for 45 gold, and killing a unit with a slinger gives you the Eureka for archery. When it comes to offensive capabilities, we are looking for 2 things from these units: taking cities and taking out enemy units. While they both absolutely suck testicles at taking cities, I mean they're garbage, the slinger doesn't even tickle cities in the early game, and with just 1 range, you're taking up a valuable spot where another unit who actually does something against cities can be effective. While warriors aren't much better, they at least have a chance against 10-15 combat strength cities in the super early game if you build enough of them. When it comes to taking out units, it's a little trickier. The slinger and warrior both wipe out units decently well, but the slinger is a ranged unit, meaning they can take out enemy units without putting themselves in harm's position. So if you can't see beyond the fog of war and you don't know if it's worth it to attack the unit that's on low health, you can do it with the slinger, whereas with the warrior it might be riskier, as there might be some winged hussars waiting to come out of nowhere, just like the Siege of Vienna. But with just 1 range and 5 combat strength, if you don't deal 40 damage in the first hit, the slinger is going to drop faster than Rudolf Hess over London. Barbarians are the biggest tell, as spearmen are very strong when fortified in the early game, but the warrior gets 5 extra combat strength against them, so it would eventually be able to whittle down the fortification. Meanwhile, the Slinger will die in 2 to 3 hits maximum against a Barbarian Spearman, and will not do nearly enough damage to stop the spear from just destroying them. So overall, I would give the Warrior a 4 out of 10 on offense. They absolutely suck against cities, but they are decent at clearing Barbarians. Overall, on offense, you will never break through with Warriors like you can do with Swordsmen or Knights, but they are effective when clearing out Barbarians with the Discipline Policy card. For Slingers, they get a 2 out of 10. They are useless against cities and offensively suck when clearing units. They are always at harm's range because of their one ranged attack range, so they're pretty much a useless unit if you're trying to clear out barbarians with them, which kind of sucks because you need to take out at least one unit to get the boost to archery. Exploration is going to be really quick. It's mainly focused on movement speed as well as how safe a unit can be while exploring. The reason I did add this is because these are both early game units in which exploration is at the top of the priority list. This also goes to the Warrior because they both have 2 movement speed, they both have 2 sight, but the Warrior is a lot better at staying alive, as due to its higher combat strength, it won't fold immediately after getting attacked by a random barbarian or a random enemy unit. With more health and combat strength, you can survive against barbarians longer, letting you explore more, which is pretty much the only thing exploration requires. I'll give the Warrior 5 out of 10 and the Slinger 4 out of 10, a lot closer than the last one because the Slinger isn't that bad at exploring. They both have the same movement speed and sight, it's just the Warrior is a lot better defendable and also a lot safer when exploring. Despite the fact 84% of you are not subscribed, I just want to get that number down to 69% for the memes, so if you do enjoy, leave a like and subscribe to help me achieve my goals. Now let's move on to defense. Defense is focused on defending your territory and cities, obviously you dunce. If someone declares war on you and you want to defend your territory, that's what defense is all about. The Warrior gives a city a combat strength bonus from about 10 to 20, depending on the current health of the Warrior. The Slinger gives no combat strength, but can attack enemy units from the safety of the city's walls, although it can only attack units 1 tile away, so it isn't as effective as, say, an archer. With the Warrior, you are going to want to defend on tiles right beside your city that are easily defensible. You want to keep them fortified on forests, hills, across rivers, and avoid being in marshes or floodplains, for example, as taking up a space is a space removed from the enemy AI to move in and start sieging down your city. The Slinger, however, you want only in your city center, as it is way too fragile to leave out, but it does have a ranged attack even if it's shorter than the COVID-19 6-foot restriction rule. All in all, this is super close, but the bottom line is the Slinger only gets really one good spot where you could put it in, and that's the city center, and even then you could argue the combat strength increase from the Warrior is better than having a weak ranged attack from the Slinger. Overall, I'd give the Warrior a 7 out of 10 for defense, as it is the strongest unit for a while from the start of the game, and leaving it fortified outside important tiles is a great defense. However, they can't fight back in a defense because they don't have a ranged attack, and it's not worth removing your fortification for one last hit. Slingers are going to get 6 out of 10. They're much better in defense than in offense, but still not as effective as the Warrior. If you can funnel 1 or 2 units from the enemy into plains tiles right outside your city's walls, then build a Slinger for the extra ranged attack, that's probably the only situation where I'd see getting a Slinger is better than a Warrior. However, a lot of the times Warriors are more effective as they increase city combat strength, unlike the Slinger. Which unit has the better future? While comparing Slingers and Warriors is fun and all, they're really only available for the first part of the game, and it isn't really worth building them if their future units are completely garbage, scouts, and to that the Slingers take the clear advantage. Archers are the best pound-for-pound unit in Civ 6, as they can 2 to 3 shot most melee units until the medieval era with a 2 ranged attack. This allows you to even provide protection while your archers whittle down the enemy. Archers are also strong enough to take out city walls in a small window until walls get a little bit stronger. But the archers can also stay in and behind the city when compared to the enemy, letting you rain fire on anyone on defense. Overall, 10 out of 10. One of the best upgrade paths in the game, going from slingers to archers, is a massive power spike. Warriors, meanwhile, get an 8 out of 10, as swordsmen are amazing. The best melee unit in the classical era, sacrificing speed from rams in comparison to horsemen. The swordsman will allow you to destroy enemy walls and kill units extremely fast, as the 15-point difference between warriors and swordsmen is insurmountable. Not as good as the archer on defense, but still a great frontline unit to protect defensible terrain like the warrior before it. And now for some notes to consider. The archer takes 45 gold to upgrade, whereas the swordsman takes 110 gold and 20 iron, which is a big difference since you aren't even guaranteed swordsman if you don't spawn near iron. Pretty big when considering that slingers are cheaper to build overall, and you are paying cheaply for archers compared to swordsmen. So which one is better? Overall, when just looking at the slinger versus the warrior, it is no question building the warrior is better most of the time, as they are more useful during the important early game tasks like taking out barbarians and exploring, while also providing a stronger defense and offense against enemy civs, while the slinger is just too weak and too low range and too low combat strength. They're pretty bad. But the thing to consider is that slingers give you the Eureka for archery, which is one of the best techs in the entire game, so you still want to build a couple of slingers, but overall warriors are by far the better unit. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe to not miss out on future content, and let me know what you want to see next in the Versus series, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.